Hello and welcome to this presentation. My name is Nigel Ward. I'm the acting head of the Cambridge School of Creative Industries at Anglia Ruskin University. And I'm going to talk you in the next few minutes through the drama combination courses and the musical theatre or performing arts course that we have at Anglia Ruskin. I'm going to try and tell you a little bit about the key features. Normally I would be doing this face to face, so please bear with the recorded slideshow version. I'll do my best to give us as much of a flavour of the courses as I can. So you can see here we have what we call a single honours drama, where you just study drama. We have drama as combinations with film studies and with English literature. And we also have a course called musical theatre, which used to be called the performing arts course. It's changed its name in order really to clarify for everybody what the focus of that course is. And I'll be talking a little bit about that and about the drama courses over the next few minutes and over the next few slides. So the first thing to say about these courses, I think, is that they are essentially practical. There are courses that you can do in other universities which have a much more theoretical basis, where you spend a lot more time reading and writing about performance in all its forms. At Anglia Ruskin, that's not the focus. We tend to focus on practical work. And you'll see that that is a really major spine that runs through the courses from the first year to the third year, that you'll be making practical work. You'll be studying plenty as well. You'll be encountering theory and ideas. You'll be doing reading. You'll be doing some writing. But at the heart of our learning is experiential learning. We want you to learn by doing rather than by reading about at its heart. So that works out more or less, depending on some of the options that you might choose, depending on some of the choices that you might make, that you'll be more or less having about 80% of your work assessed through practice. So that's a really big chunk. If you want to come and do these courses with us at Anglia Ruskin, it's important to understand that that means you're going to be in a workshop, in a studio, in a rehearsal situation, in a performance situation, and that's primarily how you will be assessed. We do plenty of work, I think, to prepare you for those kinds of assessment, to prepare you with the skills that you need, the practical skills that you will need to gain in order to do that practical work. At the heart of all of that are the performance modules that you take. In a performance module, you prepare a show, essentially, and you do that 5 times. So you do that in each semester, almost, except where you're making some of your own work in some of the later semesters. So there's always a major performance module. It will happen in one of a number of spaces, and I'll talk about spaces in a few minutes. And it will give you the opportunity, with an increasing level of kind of complexity, to put work in front of audiences, to show what you can do as a performer, and to learn not only about the act of being on stage, but also about all the things which surround that, about event management, about technical theatre, about how you might budget for a show, how you might market a show, all sorts of other skills which come into the functioning of professional theatre, whether that's straight theatre or musical theatre. So that's similar between the drama courses and the musical theatre course. I suppose it's worth saying that the musical theatre course, as the name implies, means that you're going to be making musical theatre performance. So that's the triple threat kind of performance that you would be expecting in musical theatre, where you act, where you sing, and where you dance. And the skills that we focus on in the musical theatre course are those 3 skills. Drama is much more likely to be text-based. Of course there is movement, and there may well be some song as well, actually, but essentially you'll be focusing on dramatic text, on as it were, what they call straight acting, and in musical theatre you'll have a different repertoire, a different set of kinds of performance that you might be making. You can see in that 4th bullet point we have a performance festival at the end of the work. So in your final year, in your final semester, all the work that you've done gets showcased, it gets shown in professional venues, and it can take all kinds of different forms. And that's formatted as a festival. So again, you get used to the idea of organising a festival, of arranging the marketing of that, of finding audiences, of finding venues, of working with budgets, working with time management and all the rest of it, so that you can do all of that and show your work to the best of its ability. A really important strand of our courses at Anglia Ruskin is that what we're trying to do is to give you the skills you will need if you go on and use this professionally. That can be using it professionally in all sorts of ways. It could be as a performer, it could be as a teacher, it could be working in the performance area in other ways. You could get into technical theatre, into stage management, into writing, into directing, or you might want to take these skills off into other kinds of employment. And we know that the kinds of skills that our students study on these courses are valued by employers because they're a really rounded set of skills which are applicable in all sorts of areas. And then this final bullet point, the 20th and 21st century modes of performance. So it's important to say, I think, that these kinds of performance, the kinds of performance we're interested in, are primarily contemporary. This is not the kind of course where you start with the ancient Greeks or with Shakespeare and work your way through a history of theatre. We're primarily looking at contemporary performance, recent and contemporary performance. There is some historical stuff, you will do that from time to time, but the focus is there. In terms of public performance, you can see on the two sets of courses, the drama courses and the performing arts course, these are the names of modules that happen, and all of these are modules which which terminate in some kind of public performance. So you have performances which start, you can see the name of that first one, studio performance. It'll start in our black box studio. As these performances get bigger, they move into our larger venues, and then ultimately they would move outside of our venues and into other venues within the city, within Cambridge, or indeed beyond Cambridge. And you'll see that also well, I think you see the same thing in performing arts, that you're moving from small scale musical into bigger projects as the courses go forward. So I've mentioned the Festival of Performance. This is the big showcase that you do in your final year. Normally in a commercial venue, you have quite a lot of freedom about the kind of work that you might want to make for that final showcase, but there'll be 3 big productions. That's designed to prepare you for industry, so we will work on your audition technique, we will help you to prepare your CV, we'll work with theatre professionals and bring those theatre professionals in to work with you so that you're really getting a modelling of what the industry is like and of what you're likely to do when you graduate. It is chosen by you, it is largely practical, it is 80% of your mark is through the practical work, and it's your big final major piece of work that you make on the course. Here are the names of some of the optional modules that you might do along the way to give you the idea of the range of possibilities of things you might study. So you've got things you would recognise like physical theatre, directing, choreography, dance camera, so increasingly you get the opportunity to work not just on stage but also for other media, whether it's for camera, whether it's for the internet or in other ways. And also to pick up other kinds of skills that you might want to develop. So workshop facilitation, for example, is really good for students who want to go on and lead workshops or work in an educational context. Professional theatre practice also focuses on employability, so it's about how you go out, how you get work, how you market yourself, how you prepare yourself to work professionally within the industry. I've mentioned the facilities, so this is a list of the facilities that we have in our Cambridge base. So the Mumford Theatre is perhaps the main one, which is a large professional theatre, proscenium arch theatre in the campus. It's a professional receiving house, so shows come through that space. Obviously students also show their works in that space and can themselves get work in the space. So you can, through your 3 years, you can work in that theatre in the box office side, in the technical theatre side. You'll work with the companies that come through as they give workshops and so on. We have a drama studio, we call it Covent Garden Studio. That's not Covent Garden in London, that's Covent Garden here in Cambridge, which is a small black box studio space of the kind that I'm sure you're familiar with, where we do the smaller scale work, more experimental work, and to smaller audiences. We have a music recital hall and music rehearsal rooms. We have another large hall, which is a big rehearsal space, a thing elegantly named Lab 028. That's our dance rehearsal space with a semi-sprung dance floor. We've got, of course, all the facilities that you would expect to find in a university, and in particular for our courses, apart from the library with all that that offers, we have media production. So that means the opportunity to shoot, the opportunity to edit film, to record sound, to make podcasts, to do all that kind of thing, which might help support your study and enable you to explore different ways in which you're going to develop your performance skills. I think that's everything I need to say about that. These spaces can all be used for performance, but the majority of the performances that we do for the public will be done in the Mumford Theatre, where they'll be ticketed and marketed in the usual way. Half of the experience of studying with us is about the experience you get beyond the course. So we have trips. So these are some examples of recent trips. Our most recent trip was just before lockdown, thankfully. So we were in New York in January. We have exchanges, so you can go and study for a semester overseas. We've currently got our major exchanges with a place called Ramapo College in New Jersey, which is about an hour outside of New York. We bring in visiting practitioners, we stage workshops with visiting professionals. We have our own companies that we set up. There's a community theatre company, there's a musical theatre choir, we have societies, we have open nights, we have cabarets, we have choirs, we have ensembles. There are music courses that run alongside these courses, and so you can get involved in all the work of the music courses, the orchestras, the choirs, the bands, the groups. So lots of opportunity to hone your skills. It's not just about what you study on the course, but it's also about the things that you develop outside the course, the opportunities that you take outside the course, and the way that consequently you develop as a performer. And here's just an example of a recent graduate and the kind of success that he went on to have. This is not boasting about us so much as boasting about our students and the quality of them. So this is David Alade, who on graduating from Anglia Ruskin, I think 3 or 4 years ago now, had worked for his major project on a piece of theatre that he wrote called Fox Hunting. That was then developed into a fully professional show that was staged at the Courtyard Theatre in London. He's gone on to become a performer in his own right, and he's now working at the Trafalgar Studios just very recently in the last few months. Using those skills, using and honing the skills that he developed on the course to be able to work as a performer, as a writer, and he's doing some really, I think, extraordinary work. And I hope that that means that we gave him the skills that he needed to make use of the talents that he already had. To get onto the course, you would go through an audition and an interview process. We try to make that as unthreatening as possible, as friendly as possible. But the audition process is important for us. It's as much a chance for us to see you as it is for you to see us, check out what the place is like, what the staff are like, what the other students are like, whether it's the kind of place that you want to study, and of course a chance for us to look at you and to decide whether you have the right kind of fit for the kind of course that we are. We're not looking for the finished product in audition. We're not expecting you already to know everything. We're looking for your enthusiasm. We're looking for your commitment. We're looking for your ability to take on board the things that you're being asked to do, as much as any innate technical skills that you've already acquired. So we're not expecting you to be perfect, but we are wanting to see what potential you show as a performer. Here are some email addresses of some of the staff. So I'm Nigel Ward, so that's my address, that third one in the list. You can see the addresses of others: Heather Lilly, who's the course leader for drama; Ryan Murphy, who's the course leader for the musical theatre course; Sue Wilson, who's the deputy head of school; and myself. We all teach on the course. There are other teachers on the courses as well, but if you've got any questions that you'd like to fire over to us, please use those addresses. Or if you've got a question just about the admissions process, there's an admissions email there as well. There's an Instagram and there's a Twitter, just to prove that we've discovered we're in the 21st century. We're in the 21st century. And I'm still stuck in the 20th century, but I'll get there. And our websites, where you can see a little bit more information. And in particular, that last website has more details about the audition process and what you need to do if you want to join the course. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry not to be doing this in person. If I was, I would now normally sort of take questions and I would make a lot more jokes. But thank you for listening to this virtual version of the courses. I hope that's been a little bit useful. And do please, we'll be setting up Q&A sessions. You can contact us in all sorts of ways if you've got questions, want to find out more, are interested to discover what we do. Even in these strange lockdown times, I'm sure we can find a way to get in touch with you and to discuss further. So please do make use of that. And yes, thank you for your attention. Thank you for listening. I hope we'll see you sometime soon at Anglia Ruskin.